Hello, I'm Bonnie Rabicoff, and this week we are in the kitchen at Starker's Restaurant with their executive chef and owner, John McClure. John, thank you for inviting us into your kitchen.
Welcome.
We're going to get started on that signature dish of fried chicken, which is a comfort to us all. But before we do, I'd like to talk a little bit with you about your journey to Starker's. Where did this begin?
Probably about when I was 4 years old and helping my mom cook in the kitchen. My first influence and my biggest influence probably in my life is my mother and my family, my grandmothers, in cooking with them. And Mom will tell the stories about when I wasn't even high enough to see above the counter and be like, me help. And she'd push a chair up next to the stove and she'd let me stir the gravy.
So we need to remember that when our children want to be helpful in the kitchen, to let them do that.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Let them let their creative juices flow. By the time I was 10 years old, I was able to cook some things in the kitchen, and she'd kind of open up the spice cabinet for me, and you learn a lot. You learn how to build flavors and things like that, and you know, sometimes you had some hits and sometimes you had some misses, but you learned from it all.
That's true. And whether you become an executive chef or not, knowing how to cook and care for yourself is a positive.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
You cook for the people you love. I think most people cook for their family for the first times. And, you know, when you take the care to cook for those people, that can just carry you through your lifelong in cooking. And I try to treat all my guests that come here like I would if I was cooking for my mother, and I, try to tell that to my cooks and servers. I was like, is this what you'd serve to your mom?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wise words, and I want you to know we can feel that love on our plates. So where did you get your training for this?
Well, like I said, I'd been cooking since I was very small. I did, several competition cookings like when I was in high school, but, small local scale. And I knew that I always loved to cook, but I'd never worked in a restaurant before. So I made a decision when I was 18, and I joined the United States Navy as a cook. And I was like, well, if I can be a cook here, I can be a cook anywhere. I'll figure out if this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I told my parents. They were hesitant to embrace it, but once they knew that I was serious about this, and I said, I don't want to waste money going to school if this is what I want to do. Let me figure something out. So
you took the time that some of our young people don't do. We go into automatic pilot. We just go to college, and some people are ready for that step, and others aren't. So you took this time to do a little more growing.
Yep. Growing and traveling was another passion of mine, and I wanted to see the world. And I actually was stationed in Japan, I lived in Japan, traveled all throughout Southeast Asia and to Australia, and got to taste some very unique flavors that was very exciting for me. And I knew right off in the first 6 months that this is what I want. This is what I want to do every day for the rest of my life. So after I finished my enlistment in the military, I actually went straight into school and enrolled at the Culinary Institute of America, the CIA in Hyde Park, New York.
That was a great place to enroll.
No, absolutely. Well,
what a wonderful experience.
Yeah, it was great. The culture there is all about food and learning and harboring the education of the students there. And I was just very excited. And I was kind of a blank slate because I'd never still worked in a fine dining restaurant. There's a lot of things I didn't, but I didn't have any bad habits. So everything I learned was something new. And it was just like when you're in first grade, you can learn so many things because it's all new.
And fresh.
And absolutely.
Yes.
So I just had an exceptional experience there, and I graduated. And after 2 years, and I'd been gone from my family area for about 6 years, I decided to move back to the area.
Time to come home.
And I moved to Kansas City, Missouri for the first time, and I got a line cook position working at the American restaurant under Michael Smith and Debbie Gould.
So we have James Beard award-winning chefs coming from the CIA, and that meant that you were having the best possible experiences.
Absolutely. I worked for Michael and Debbie for over a year at the American. Had a tremendous experience. It was like working for them was my foundation for the rest of my career. The school gets you in the door, but that work and the time that I spent there was a foundation that could build up from there. And I just, I owe great gratitude, and I'm a very good relationship with both of them, and I love being able to go dine in their restaurants now.
Well, all the chefs say, I've had some inspirations along the way, which of course you in turn will be for the chefs that work under you. Who else was an inspiration for you?
Well, after my stint at the American, I moved to New Orleans, Louisiana.
Ah, great food town.
Absolutely, I think it's the best food city in America. And I worked under a chef named Frank Brightson at Brightson's Restaurant, and he is very traditional New Orleans chef. Very elegant in the way he does things, but it's a traditional. His gumbo is gumbo. He makes a turtle soup, or he does a soft shell crabs. They're all the traditional ways that you would normally see it. Oysters, Rockefeller, or Benville. But what I got from him is not only the ingredients of the South, unique things and the techniques, but you could just take the most humblest of ingredients and make them into something extraordinary. And it's all about the time and the care that you take for it, and the way that he treated the ingredients and the way that he treated his people. And he really endeared everybody that worked for Frank. He's an endearing individual.
Isn't he a James Beard Award-winning chef? So boy, you have a thing for James Beard Award-winning chefs.
I want to work for the best. I wanted to be the best, and I want to work for the best to get to that point.
To get to that point, you bring out another point, and that is the way he cared for his staff,
Absolutely.
which you can feel in the restaurant when you walk in the door.
Absolutely, and moving forward in my career, after I went there, I came back to Kansas City after 2 years in New Orleans. And I worked for Michael Smith and Debbie Gould once again at 40 Sardines as their sous chef. And that was when I started to kind of mold myself into a management style, what my management style is going to be. Take a little bit from when I worked with Michael and Debbie, take a little bit from when I worked with Frank, have some of my own ideas. And I just kind of grew, and I got to open so many doors in the local area of whether it be farmers or vendors, and just got back into the community with diners as well. After about 2 years there, I was kind of still pretty young at the time, and I was really ready. I'm ready to take it on and have a kitchen of my own.
Because that's a big step. Not everybody makes that step from sous chef to executive chef.
Absolutely.
Because and I know that it's more than cooking. It's leadership. It's management.
It is a huge step. And when I actually was talking to some friends, and they said, well, why don't you call Cliff Bath? I said, I don't know who Cliff Bath is, and he's the owner of Starker's Restaurant. So I kind of did a little research, found out about Starker's. It had a great legacy of the restaurant.
Wonderful legacy.
Had been around for over 30 years. Cliff is a legendary restaurateur. So I, at the time, was 20, I think I was about 29 years old.
A puppy to him.
And I called the restaurant, said I want to talk to Cliff Bath, the owner, and he gets on the phone, and I said, well, my name's John McClure, and I want to be your executive chef. And there was kind of a pause on there. It was like, wow.
Hello?
But I got an interview out of it.
Good for you.
And I met him for the interview, and we sat down and talked, and I am very straightforward. There's no hidden agenda. It's this is the way my conversation goes. It's very poignant. Cliff was a gentleman and elegant, and he would go around the room with this conversation, however it be, and the way that you could just discuss with each other. And after a while, I was like, I need to figure out if I'm gonna get this job or not. So I kind of sat up in my chair and I said, well, Mr. Bath, I'm going to be an executive chef of a restaurant in this town, and you have first right of refusal to hire me or not. And it kind of, I think it took him aback. It's like, who's interviewing here? Who here? But, he showed me the restaurant. 3 days later, he gave me an offer, and that really just set everything into motion, and we moved very quickly, and I came here as a chef in January of 2005. And it was like we had been brothers separated at birth or something, and there was about 35 years difference in our age.
Wonderful.
And we just hit it off, and then within 2 years from my hire, I had bought the restaurant from him. So, which is another big step.
Yeah, big step,
So,
going from executive chef to chef owner.
Absolutely.
And you've been taking all the steps and doing it with all the right care. Okay, you've had fabulous training. You've had amazing mentors. What keeps you inspired today in the kitchen each and every day?
I get inspired by people. I get inspired by my staff. I get inspired by people that has worked for me in the past and what they're doing now. I get really excited of seeing people learn and being able to harbor an environment that is a learning environment, and to teach them, cooks or whoever it is, new things. And I say, hey, I want you to have an idea. Come in with an idea, and they'll bring an idea to the table. Say, okay, that's good, let's do this. Now let's change it here, here, and here. Let's see if we can make this better. And right now, my entire staff is a homegrown kitchen that has all started at the bottom and trained their way up to the top. And then the people that I get excited is that I train one person, now they train another person, and they train another person.
Passes on,
And
passes
it cultivates itself. And as far as the food inspiration, I pull on memories, food memories of the past, because I think that's what people get excited about most is, can you connect with your childhood, or can you connect with a memory, a great food memory you had with, whether it be your grandmother, your mother, your father, or grilling a steak, or, you know, however that may be. And I try to have flavors that are straightforward, really, you know, bold, intense flavors that are really fun. And then we have some, you know, whimsy in there too, to keep it fun, because I think there's way too many chefs now that are too serious. They take their food too serious. They take everything, and you need to just relax. We're here to give enjoyment and pleasure to others. So it should be enjoying and pleasurable for us and the people that's doing it.
You really, truly, as a diner, you can feel that. You can feel the fun and the passion on your plate. And so that's apparently the environment you've created in your kitchen with your staff.
Yes.
And, you know, at the end of the day, it is about the people.
Absolutely. Dean Smith is the general manager. He's been here almost as long as I have been here as the chef. And we have such a great relationship. And the front of the house and the service here is so spot on. We take care of our guests. We don't hover over them. We're not overbearing over them. But all your needs are met. The biggest thing that I would like to say is, if you come to Starker's, you don't know there's a server there, and you never have to ask for anything. And everything's just done, and it's just in a seamless way, and with some grace.
Well, Chef, congratulations to you for your many accomplishments here in this community. I think that we should go in the kitchen, and I think we should prepare that signature dish.
Absolutely. We're gonna have that buttermilk fried chicken, and you're gonna love it.
Okay, I think you should come with us. Hello, I'm Bonnie Rabicoff, and this week we are in the kitchen at Starker's Restaurant with their executive chef and owner, John McClure. John, thank you for inviting us into your very impressive kitchen.
Thank you for coming. It's a pleasure to
Okay,
have you.
signature dish. What are we making, chef?
Well, this is one of my favorite dishes on the menu. It's our buttermilk fried chicken. We start with beautiful Campolindo chicken from
Yes.
Lathrop, Missouri, and it's one of my childhood memory foods. I love fried chicken. I have memories of that growing up, and I have a lot of Southern influences on my menu, and I think fried chicken is a quintessential part of Southern cuisine.
And a comfort food.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's just an absolute comfort food. Okay, how do we get ready to make this fried chicken?
Well, first we're going to start off with our chicken here. This is, like I said, from Campolindo Farms.
So that means it's free range.
Free range, organic chicken.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you, Chef, I think those kinds of chickens are sweeter. I mean, there's a fresher, cleaner taste to them.
Happy chickens taste better.
Yes, they do. And that was a happy chicken. Okay.
So we have butchered the chickens down into what is essentially a boneless breast with the wing attached. And we take all the rest of the legs and thighs and use those into other applications, and we take all the bones, which we'll make into our gravy later, and we'll see that on the plate. First, we're going to start with our seasoned flour, and there's a lot of things that kind of go into this because we want to have an impact of flavor on every bite of our chicken. So we have just a regular all-purpose flour,
Yes.
and then we're going to add in some regular sweet paprika, a good amount of it. It's going to give great color and some flavor. We have some chili powder. We have some granulated garlic.
And I would like to point out the distinction between granulated and powdered garlic, because powdered can get bitter.
It can get very bitter.
And this is not.
Yeah, this is much more subtle in flavor, but it still gives a great garlic flavor. We have a little bit of white pepper.
freshly ground.
Freshly ground white pepper, freshly ground black pepper,
Oh, both. Okay.
and some cayenne pepper.
A little kick never hurt anyone.
Absolutely. And then we're also going to add in some salt so it kind of seasons our spiced flour that we're going to have.
Is that kosher salt?
Kosher salt,
it's
yes.
Kosher salt. So I think what we forget to do when we fry chicken is we get a little bashful with the seasoning.
Absolutely.
And here some of it falls off. Anyway, it gets fried. You have to think that it's part of what goes in your mouth.
Absolutely.
So.
And we try to, I want a powerful flavor and everything, but you're still going to taste the chicken within it. We're not going to try to outshine the chicken, but you want just all these seasonings to enhance it.
So it's an enhancement.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now we're going to make our wet batter to dredge our chicken in. And we're going to start with some Campolundo eggs that we got from the same chickens and some really good buttermilk.
You know, and I've only heard positive things about buttermilk and fried chicken.
Absolutely.
It tenderizes it.
Well, a lot of people use a buttermilk in a dredge kind of form where they'll like soak it overnight, and some people says that it'll tenderize it and whatnot. But we do not soak it because we want to have our chicken taste like chicken. We want to have good chicken so it's tender already. I like the buttermilk in our wet batter because it gives it a nice coating. It helps the flour adhere to the chicken, and I think that it really alleviates that any greasiness that you can get. It keeps it nice and crisp and doesn't get wet. And notice
it's sharp. It's a little.
It has a little tang to it.
A tang to it. So
we add in about a cup of buttermilk per egg. So I think a lot of people, when they're frying different things, they'll tend to have too much eggs, and then that will encourage a greasy mixture as well.
Okay, so the ratio of eggs to buttermilk is an important part of this.
Absolutely, just about a cup of liquid to each egg.
I also noticed that your chicken is sort of dried. It doesn't look at all wet, and is that to help?
Well, these chickens were actually killed yesterday. We get them straight from the farm. They're not packed in ice. They're not sitting anywhere. They're not sitting in a styrofoam container. We get the chickens in whole. We butcher them ourselves, and we respect the food and take care of it, just like they did when they were raising it.
So I say this all the time on the show. If you don't start off with a good product to begin with, you can season, cook it in, and you're never going to get the same result.
What I try to tell all of my cooks and sous chefs is we try to start with great product and keep it in a great dish. You can never elevate inferior product, but you can always downgrade a great product. So we just need to take some love and care when we're cooking with
We're respecting that chicken.
Absolutely.
We're respecting it. Okay, now what next, Chef?
Well, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna bread these up, dredge them for the fryer so we can put them in. So first I'm gonna take, and you can see this is completely boneless, nice color in there. We're gonna take this wing and we're gonna just kind of pop it back here like this, and it's just gonna be kind of for an aesthetic purposes. It looks nice when we put it on the plate, and he's got his wing all tucked up in there.
Okay, so we've seasoned the flour, but we're now going to separately season the chicken.
Absolutely. It's layers of seasoning.
Layers.
And we're going to start with just a little sprinkling of kosher salt onto the chicken.
And I'm pointing out, again, as I always do, look at the distance between your hand and the product. You get a more even distribution when you have some
just a little
space here.
Absolutely. You just want a nice light coating, and then a little bit of black pepper. We're going to do both sides because you're going to eat both sides of it. Same thing on both sides, just a little pinch of salt, a little pinch of black pepper.
And again, freshly ground pepper, please.
You can smell it from here, the oil's in it.
You can.
Now we're going to take our chicken, we're going to go into our dry batter first, and we're going to just get it completely covered so it's nice and even with the seasoning, and then we're going to shake off the excess.
An important step is to shake off the excess or it gets gummy.
It's going to get gummy. So we'll just do the other one the same way.
And it's really sticking because the chicken is a little bit dry. It's not that gooey, right?
Absolutely, and it's not going to be heavy either. Now we're going to go right into our buttermilk mixture. And we're going to...
having a little bath here.
Yep. All you're doing is moistening that flour. And once you get that, and it's all into all the nooks and crannies, you're going to do the same thing. We're going to pull it out. We're going to go right back into our seasoned flour mix, and this is when you can kind of get in there. I'm not pressing it, but but I'm making sure that it's completely in there. This is going to be our crust. This is going to be what people like fried chicken. Not only the delicious chicken, but now they have this great seasoned flavor flour, and so you can get in there kind of in his
All right, so it's really important to make this that 3-step process.
Absolutely.
Because when the first time it goes into the flour, it actually helps to keep the liquid mixture, and then that in turn helps to keep the flour mixture.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And some people say, man, that seems like a lot of flour, you know, an extra step. And they think it might be heavy. It's not at all. You're gonna have an opportunity to have this, and it's gonna be light, and it's gonna dance on your palate.
It's gonna dance. Well, now, Chef, I guess we're taking this to the fryer.
Absolutely.
Okay, Chef, the chicken is ready to go into the fryer. And what temperature do we have our oil at, and what oil do you recommend?
We use a pure vegetable oil.
No flavor either.
No, not hydrogenated fat of any kind.
Thank you.
And it's set at 350 degrees.
Okay.
It's going to take about 15 minutes for this size of bird. Obviously, it's going to vary what cut, if you're doing legs or thighs. If it's a large breast, these are almost 4-pound hens. They got a nice size to them, so it takes a bit of time for it. But we're just we've breaded those up with our buttermilk and seasoned flour. We're going to drop those right into the chicken, into the fryer.
If we were at home, we could use like a Dutch oven and with a thermometer, get it up to 350.
Absolutely, yeah, about 350. You may want to, if you're doing it at home and you're doing it on a stovetop with a small fryer, what you can do is bring it up about to maybe 360 degrees because by the time you put your chicken in, it's going to drop down probably to about 350. But just really monitor it. One of the most important things is you don't want to overfill it, your pan, because it's going to boil up a little bit because of the flour and the liquid.
But
so you
do
have
a Dutch oven this big with oil, maybe
only
that
halfway at the most.
Yeah.
And you can also do this, in a more traditional way. How I grew up is in a cast iron skillet and do a pan fried chicken. I prefer the deep fried because I think it's a much gentler way of cooking it. It's the oil's all the way around it. It's quicker. It's more efficient, and
I'm told it absorbs less.
It absorbs less fat, I think,
Wouldn't
too.
think so, but it makes sense.
When it's just, these are designed to fry, and it's designed to cook it evenly in a manner that would be most efficient.
Okay. All right, Chef, while our chicken's frying, we're going to make the sides.
Absolutely.
Let's go. Okay, the chicken is in the fryer, and now it's time for the sides.
Absolutely.
What do we have here, Chef?
We're going to do a little sauteed haricot vert green beans. I just, fried chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans. It's what you had. It's what you had when you were a kid. It's what I like to have now as an adult.
Still our comfort. Now, what did you do to the green beans up to this point?
We've simply just taken the fresh green beans, boiling salted water, blanch them for about 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
And just till they still have a little bit of bite to them, but they're cooked through.
Right green.
And then right into ice water to stop the cooking process.
And the good thing about that is you could do this in advance before your guests arrive, and then all you have to do is finish sauteing.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's where we are. Now, what's this?
We're going to start with a little bit of olive oil in our pan, a medium-high heat. And then we're going to toast off just a little bit of fresh chopped shallots and just a pinch of chopped garlic. And we're going to just look just to toast them, kind of flavor the oil that we're going to be putting our green beans in.
And this is the time for olive oil. We didn't do that with the chicken because it's contributing to the dish.
Right.
Gorgeous.
And then just a little bit of the green beans, and then lower your heat, and then that's going to just let those toast up the garlic a little bit.
That is simple enough. Seriously.
Absolutely.
That is simple enough.
We're just going to put a little pinch of salt and black pepper.
Because this is the first time we get it with a little bit of seasoning towards the end. Now, for those of us who are not saute experts, a spatula or tongs.
You can do some tongs and turn them over. Absolutely.
I don't know, my product doesn't end up back in the pan.
Well, the best, you can practice this.
I know, I sure
If you get a cold pan
yes.
and get some dry beans. And you can sit there and you can clean dry beans up really easy. And you sit there, and that's how you learn how to do it when you're in school. The
This
chef.
is a wonderful lesson. You don't ruin anything. You don't burn anything.
That's
You're
right.
just I'm going to do that, Chef.
Dry beans.
You're going to be so impressed the next time we cook together.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Those are cooked through, and
Oh,
now
wow.
all we got to do is wait for our
Ready to go?
chicken and get our mashed potatoes. We'll talk about some gravy.
Okay. All right, Chef. The chicken's frying. We've sauteed the green beans. What else do we need to get ready for the plate?
Well, if you're having fried chicken, you have to have mashed potatoes.
I know.
Gravy.
I know. Yeah.
And we simply take Idaho potatoes, peel them, quarter them, cold water, and a little bit of salt, and cook them. Bring them up to a boil, and turn it down to a simmer, and cook them just until they're cooked through.
And the important thing is to start them out in cold water.
Cold water.
Cold water. And Idaho potatoes is your potato of choice.
My potato choice,
Okay.
it has a nice fluffy consistency when you go to mill them, and it can absorb the butter and the cream, which makes mashed potatoes
Crucial.
what they're good.
Yeah. All right. So you take them out and you let them get a little bit dry.
Well, I dry them. I think the most important thing about making mashed potatoes is once they're cooked, get them out of the water and get them milled as immediately as possible, and make the time as short from cooked potatoes to mashed potatoes.
Okay.
Don't let them cool off ever. So we drain them immediately, get all the water off of them, and then we put them through a food mill or a potato racer.
Pressed. Yeah. Right.
And we mill them down, and then we incorporate back in whole unsalted butter and heavy cream, and then a little bit of salt and white pepper to finish just for seasoning. And you just end up with a luxuriously creamy potato that just is silky smooth.
And when you're mixing it, you're not using an electric mixer.
No.
Because I've heard that can make them gummy.
Well, it's going to cool them down quicker.
Oh.
And I just use a spoon, and you can feel it. You can feel it, you know, after you make it time and time and time again. We make potatoes obviously every day, and I do that. And
Okay,
then,
good pointers for the potatoes.
Absolutely.
And they look exactly as,
Yeah.
great result.
Now our gravy,
Your gravy.
it's more of a sauce, but it tastes just like Grandma's gravy. It takes all the flavors of that and makes it much lighter on your palate. It's got a great mouthfeel, but an intense chicken flavor. I don't like when I go places and they'll have gravy and it's thick and cream.
Yeah.
This tastes like chicken. So from the chickens that we got, that we butchered down ourselves, we take the carcasses, all the bones, we roast those bones for about an hour in the oven.
Yes.
Get them nice and caramelized, nice brown roasted chicken in color. We'll take those bones with some onions, some carrots, and a little bit of celery, and a little bit of thyme. We caramelize the vegetables, and then we put the chicken bones in and cover it with cold water. And then we're going to go a minimum of 24 hours, but usually about 36 hours on a slow simmer, and it's going to reduce that down, and you have a really intense, rich chicken stock.
So that's what it is. It's like a reduced chicken stock.
Right.
And for those of us who don't have commercial kitchens
Sure.
or 36 hours, I'm
Right.
assuming we could use some off-the-shelf chicken stock
Sure.
product. I know we won't get this result. We have
Right.
to come here for that.
Right.
But just to know all the care that you've taken to get us
Absolutely.
there.
Once we get that chicken stock made, then to order we make our gravy. We take a saute pan. We saute just a pinch of chopped garlic and shallots. Soften that up, and then we add in that reduced chicken stock, and we reduce it down by about half again. And it's almost syrupy consistency. And at the very last, we put just a touch of cream. And that gives you that richness that you want from your chicken gravy. That gives you the mouthfeel. That gives you the gravy aspect of it. And it's not just a chicken sauce. And once we have it there, we check the final seasoning, and then I finish it with some fresh Italian flat leaf parsley.
Yep.
That gives a nice bright flavor.
Yeah.
And it really brightens up what is a very intense sauce to go with our chicken.
Well, you've taken magnificent care to get the perfect product to your diners.
Absolutely.
So we know we eat with our eyes first. Shall we plate?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, Chef. All all parts of the meal are cooked. We know we eat with our eyes first. How do we plate this beauty?
Well, we're going to start with our mashed potatoes, and that's going to give us our starting point for our plate.
Okay.
Nice and creamy, hot,
And fluffy
and hot. And once we have those down, then we're going to put our green beans down.
Okay.
We have our sauteed green beans.
And noticing that this is simple and beautiful, you're letting the food be the star.
Let the food shine.
It's-
I want people to look at the plate and know what they're eating.
Yep.
And there's no, any tricks or anything. I just try to do simple, straightforward, delicious food. Now we're
Feels
gonna,
very accessible that
Absolutely.
way. It does, it does.
so now we're going to take our chicken, and just to kind of make it a little bit more elegant presentation, we're going to slice the chicken,
Yes.
and 2 slices. You can hear that crust just crunch.
Oh, that is a crust.
And we're going to put that on the plate.
Oh, beautiful, perfectly cooked.
And then we're going to take our sauce, our gravy, and we're going to spoon that right in the front. It's going to be able to go in there and get onto your chicken, and then you can dip your potatoes in it. And this is our Starker's Restaurant buttermilk fried chicken with mashed potatoes and gravy.
Well, it's a masterpiece. And now, Chef, we need to go to the bar and pair this with a beverage. And then
Absolutely.
we have a celebrity taster coming in to taste all of it.
Let's go.
Thank you for inviting us into your kitchen.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
We continue our visit here at Starker's Restaurant with their executive chef and owner, John McClure. We've just finished making that amazing signature dish of fried chicken mashed potatoes, the Starker's gravy, and those wonderful green beans. So, Chef, what should we drink with this dish?
Well, this is going to be more of a non-traditional pairing, I would say.
I wouldn't
Most
expect
people,
that from you.
But my favorite thing to have with fried chicken is champagne or sparkling wine.
Yes.
And
Tell us why.
Champagne goes with everything.
Well.
And I think it is a very, very versatile wine that can be used throughout your meal, not just to start or have a toast or have a dessert. Today we chose a Schramsberg Blanc de Blanc, 2005 sparkling wine from California. The Blanc de Blanc means it's 100% Chardonnay. It's going to have a nice crisp acidity. It's going to kind of dance on your palate. It's going to have a nice bright flavors, and then also it'll have a complexity to it because it's aged and it has and some wood as well. I like it with the crispness and the effervescence and the little tiny bubbles that you have. They just cut through the richness of the chicken and the gravy, and it just goes in there and it cleanses your palate. And to have something that balances your dish out, you have a nice rich dish with the chicken and the gravy and the potatoes, and then you have this bright, refreshing Blanc de Blanc, and I think it's really, and it's a lot of fun to have. You think about having some fried chicken or something and a cold beer. It's the same thing, except for this is wine.
So, not something we might have typically selected, but a very exciting pairing.
Absolutely.
And now what we have to do is have our celebrity taster from KCTV5 come in. We're going to hear what she has to say about the food and the pairing.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Chef.
Cheers.
Hello, I'm Bonnie Rabicoff, and we have just been in the kitchen at Starker's Restaurant with their executive chef, John McClure, making a signature dish, and with us to taste the dish and the wine is Banyan Lee. From Channel 5, KCTV Channel 5, you are a reporter there.
I am.
You have a very busy schedule, and I appreciate your taking the time out
Thank you for having
to be
me.
our celebrity taster. Now, Chef, would you please tell our celebrity taster what you want to taste?
Well, we have Starker's buttermilk fried chicken with our homemade mashed potatoes, gravy, and our haricot vert. And my favorite wine pairing to go with this is going to be a sparkling wine or champagne. And we've selected the Schramsberg Blanc de Blanc. And I think the crisp acidity and the bubbles is really fun with the fried chicken.
Not a usual pairing, but very exciting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Thank you, Chef.
Thank you,
Okay,
thank
so the
you.
task
Okay.
at hand,
All right.
you have to taste the food.
Okay, this is my challenge.
Yeah,
I will
it's your
accept
challenge,
it.
but I know
Okay.
you can do this. So, and you know, Chef makes an amazing gravy or sauce.
amazing.
Actually, it's not a usual sauce that one would have with chicken. And it's like 36 hours to make this sauce.
Really?
Yeah,
36
yeah.
hours for
Yep,
this gravy?
yes. He just made this chicken stock and then just went from there to infuse it with flavor.
Oh my gosh.
You have to take the first
I
bite.
have to take.
Hardly
okay.
containing
I'm doing the
myself.
honors.
Okay, you have to do it. No, I did. Isn't that amazing? Oh, that's amazing. It's a comfort
Wow.
food that's never tasted like that before.
I like the crispy skin with that gravy. And the meat is very, here's the thing about fried chicken. I'm always used to really tough meat with fried chicken.
It's easy to do.
I'm no chef. Ask my husband. I'm no chef. I don't know why. It probably has something to do with frying it, cooking a long time.
Okay.
But the meat is really tender.
It's tender, it's juicy. He still made the crust crispy, but the flavors. I mean, there's buttermilk and
it's flavor all the way to the core
all
of
the way
meat.
to the core.
Yeah.
He did that, you know. It's also Campolindo chicken, which is an organic, locally raised,
Yes.
free-range chicken. Which
I eat it at home.
See, so
It doesn't taste like this though, I'll tell you that much.
You don't have John in your kitchen.
Uh-huh.
But it's a superior product to begin with.
It's so good.
Oh, John did it with potatoes.
Okay, so what's the
John
story
made
with the potatoes?
The potatoes. He boiled them, Idaho potatoes, in cold salted water, and boiled them, and immediately dried them and ran them through well, I call it either a potato ricer or a moly or whatever. But he doesn't sit there whipping it and adding air and cooling it down. He keeps the potatoes hot, and then added, of course, butter and cream and salt and pepper. But look how fluffy.
I was gonna say, tell me if my instincts are correct,
Okay.
but there's a lot of texture to the potato, and it doesn't taste. A lot of times you bite
Gummy.
into
Yeah.
it and it just But there's a lot of good texture to this, and the
He's
gravy, of
just
course. I gotta
taken-
keep going back to the gravy.
I know, the gravy is just like, and the other piece about gravy is sometimes they make gravy, and the gravy they use for many other meat products.
Right.
This gravy is specific to the chicken because it comes from the chicken stock. He's roasted bones.
Oh, I
and
see. Okay.
This is a gravy for his chicken, and it's Starker's gravy. So I don't think we might attempt that at home.
But you can find it here.
That you can find.
You know where to
This is
go
the only
if you
place
want
you're gonna-
this.
And look, you can see there's some bright green parsley in here. He's added a fresh green taste to it, so it lifts up some of the heaviness. It's just a great balance of flavor, texture, color.
There's nothing on this plate that is bad. I mean, everything, the green beans, I just bit into it, and it's very fresh tasting.
So look how green they are because
Yes.
he flash boiled them, parboiled them.
Okay.
Chilled them so that they were bright green, and in addition to being beautiful and having that great mouthfeel and crunch, it also preserves the nutrients in the food when you don't cook them to death. And then he just sauteed them with garlic and shallots.
Which is why it tastes so fresh, right? Because he kept.
In addition to the fact that the product was fresh to begin with. But what I think John's basic skill is the great care that he takes with beginning with a great product and making sure he takes care of that product all the way through the cooking.
Right. And this is what I love about this meal. I did some research before I came, and
Girl,
I saw.
I'm a reporter.
I see, it's the reporter in me. I gotta know what I'm walking into here. The Campolindo chicken, it's organic, and that is what I love about this meal, is that it's organic and locally grown, right? Am I correct by saying that? Yeah. So that's, I mean, if people say you can't eat organic and it tastes good, come to Starker's because this is great.
It is. It's really respect for the animal and
Yes.
caring for it the way and letting it live the way it was supposed to and grow at the rate it was supposed to, so it has the most nutrition and flavor.
Right.
Right. Now you have one more task.
Okay.
the wine. Now, I would not have thought
second
of
favorite
putting
flavor.
champagne with fried chicken, which is probably why it's so great. It's refreshing.
Right.
And so, to your health
Okay.
and to life.
Thank you. To you too. Oh,
Wow.
it's very refreshing.
It is. It's refreshing. It's a drop sweet, but it stands up to the flavors that are here because they're strong.
Right.
Strong in a positive way, of course.
And
yes.
you're eating fried, heavy foods,
Mm-hmm.
and so you've got that to complement the heaviness. It's very light and refreshing. I love it. It's great
I love
pairing.
it too. Should we keep the chef?
I think so. I think so.
Well, I want
He
to
gets
keep-
approval.
He gets approval. We're going to keep him now. I'm sure he was worried about it. I want to thank you again. I know your schedule is frenetic reporting, and we appreciate all the care you take in bringing quality news to us, the viewers here in this community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun and so good. Thank you, John.